Okay, let's bring in Republican Congressman, by the way, from Florida, because my first question is all about Florida, Matt Gaetz, who also has the book Firebrand just out. Matt, Bloomberg has said he's going to spend $100 million getting Florida for Joe Biden. What does Congressman from Florida, Matt Gaetz, say about that?
President Trump is doing very well in Florida, and there's no amount of Michael Bloomberg money that can make Joe Biden a more compelling candidate. He's particularly uncompelling to a lot of the Hispanic voters who have increasingly become turned off by the neo-Marxist, anti-American, Black Lives Matter fringe elements and organizational elements, I should perhaps say. In Florida, we also see just a rising number of NPAs who are perhaps a little bit older, who've moved to Florida from a blue state, and they like that low taxes and that friendly regulatory climate and safe streets. And those are the types of policies our governor implements, and that seems to be helping the president there as well. Now, Michael Bloomberg has also decided that he's going to pay off some of the restitution and court costs and fines for ex-felons to restore their voting rights, but it won't be for all ex-felons. They've specifically identified Black, Latino, and those ex-felons with a particular voting record, voting history, and propensity. So it seems to be a direct political ploy to bribe people for their votes by extinguishing their debts.
You know, Matt, in 2016, actually in almost every presidential election, Florida is so integral. Both sides need it. If Trump doesn't win Florida, he's going to have a tough time. I don't even see a path to the presidency if he doesn't win Florida. He is winning. He's leading. Interesting, though, the state of Florida is very interesting. South Florida has one personality. North Florida has another, the Panhandle another. That I-4 corridor is where the elections are won and lost. Presidential elections are won and lost in the I-4 corridor from Tampa through Orlando down to Daytona Beach. Your thoughts on how this plays out in the corridor?
Well, we have had unified Republican control of the government in Florida for an entire political generation, and that has shown people what these policies that embrace prosperity can do to improve quality of life. The area you described, the I-4 corridor, has grown a great deal over the last 4 years. A lot of new residents that have moved in that, bring their hopes and dreams to the Sunshine State. It's the story of the wonderful place that I'm from. But I would also suggest, Eric, keep an eye on Miami-Dade County. All of the field data that we're getting, all of the polling data we're getting, suggesting that these Hispanics that might only be one or generation removed from socialism in Central or South America are not signing up for the Biden-Harris candidacy. And so if Joe Biden is unable to build margins in South Florida because he can't win Hispanic voters, I think it's going to be easier for my good folks in the Florida Panhandle to deliver victory. Down in South Florida, they got the country clubs. Up in North Florida, we got the hunting clubs, and that's where we elect presidents.
And Matt, what matters here is so Cubans typically vote for conservatives. That's just the way they typically vote. Now, what about non-Cuban Hispanics in the state of Florida? Because this, again, Florida is so important. Where are they voting? Where are they falling? Some would say in the I-4 corridor, there's a lot of non-Cuban Hispanics moving to the Orlando area, Central Florida area, and they may not be friends of Trump.
Well, you'll recall that in the 2018 election, 8.5 million people voted in the state of Florida. Ron DeSantis won by about 30,000 votes, Rick Scott by about 10,000 votes. There are 300,000 Venezuelans in the state of Florida who have registered to vote, or folks that identify with that particular heritage. And so we've got an opportunity with that voting base to really make the case effectively against socialism, and we're doing well in that regard. But what we're finding also is that there are certain themes with kind of the pan-Latin community in Florida that are very pro-family, pro-small business, that have benefited from an education system in Florida that embraces school choice rather than just making education a government-run monopoly. And so those policies are starting to animate more of a generational support for Republicans. And Ron DeSantis won the Hispanic vote. I suspect that President Trump will do very, very well in that category, and it's going to be beyond just those of Cuban descent. I think that growing number of Venezuelans is a real honey hole for Republicans.
All right, we're going to leave you there. Matt Gaetz, the book is called Firebrand, Dispatches from the Front Lines of the MAGA Revolution. My friends, viewers, look at that man. He is on the front lines. And yes, he is a firebrand. Good friend, Matt Gaetz, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Eric.